This video of Call of Dragons will be covering Garwood, one of the rather more underwhelming and more unpopular legendary commanders, though he has his uses. So stick around in this video because I'll be explaining those said uses, his talents, his builds, and so much more. What is up guys, MEOWER here back with a brand new Call of Dragons video. In this episode of the Commander series Revamped, where we go through every single commander, their builds, their talents, their skills, and all that juicy stuff, we'll be covering the Forest Guardian, Garwood. Now, Garwood is an interesting commander to say the least, so we'll be going through his skills, his talents, his pairings, and where you can obtain his shards. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Garwood's skills is as follows. His first skill is a heal, pretty straightforward, and then after he's awakened, that heal improves, but we'll get to that as soon as we cover his awakened skill. And he also grants a damage reduction by 20% from all sources for 4 seconds, which is pretty decent and on paper seems pretty amazing. But as I explain more about Garwood, you'll know that it's not as good as initially thought. Next up, all HP of of a garrison army while Garwood is present, whether if it's a pass or a city, it gets granted 10% HP. Pretty nice, pretty nice. HP is always one of the most valuable stats in Call of Dragons. His third skill, Call of the Ancient Tree, finds it so that you gain increased defense on all infantry, and you gain an increased healing bonus by 30%, which is pretty nice. So everything about Garwood's kit is all about survivability. Now, the last skill, Thistles and Thorns, Garwood has a 75% chance to increase physical damage dealt by 25 by 20% for 5 seconds when healed, which goes all the way to 30%. So making this rather the only potential damage dealing skill, or the only skill that impacts damage by any shape or form. And finally, his awakened skill makes it so he heals for 1,400 instead of 1,200, and the damage reduction boost resistance timer is increased by 6 seconds instead of the standard 4 seconds. Now, why did I say that healing is not that good? Is because in Call of Dragons, as it is right now, healing is rather one of the more underwhelming stats to have on, especially on a commander that is considered to be a key commander when it comes to garrisons and such. So that is why I'm not a fan of his kit right now. I think it needs potential buffs because as it is right now, he is super good at healing, but does nothing else at all. Next up, the talents. Garwood really has 2 potential options when it comes to talents. One is a garrison, and one is a tank open field hybrid. Now, in both builds, we will not actually be using the garrison tree because the garrison tree is actually one of the weakest trees in Call of Dragons right now. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it provides decent HP, however, other trees give even more HP. Second of all, it has no synergy with Garwood. Garwood does not really provide any potential skills that might synergize with any of these talents, so they're just overall so weak. And then, of course, the skills that impact the Watchtower. Watchtower is really not that good overall when it comes to getting hit in cities. Plus, Madeline Nika exists. So what use is Garwood when it comes to specking him in the garrison tree? Because again, it has no synergy with his kit. So what you want to do is that you want to build on his tankiness and his potential sponge-like nature. So we're gonna be using the infantry, or rather the tank tree, as the primary for this build. This will be option 1. So what we're gonna do is gonna go the standard attack, defense, HP. Then we're gonna go for even more HP. We're gonna go for march speed in order to maneuver a little bit more. Normally you want to go, no, some would say go less counterattack, but since you're an infantry march, you're the one that's going to be hit all the time, so you won't really be able to pull off any counterattack. And well, intimidation has no value whatsoever in Garwood since his ghost does no damage. Next up, you can go either go a mix up between encouraging dance and heaven's blessing, which I highly recommend, or you can go all the way into all conquering. However, I would rather you go 3 points into Heaven's Blessing and then 2 points into Encouraging Dance just to get that rage restoration rolling. Next up, you have either an option of going Unyielding Spirit or Impregnable Defense, but we're gonna go for Unyielding Spirit just to gain that potential hero skill damage reduction. Next up, we're definitely going to go for the HP because HP is always one of the most valuable stats. That's a no-brainer, especially on a tank commander. Next up, you have two options: either Solid Shield or Cloaked Wrath. If you're going to be rolling with Madeline secondary on Garwood, I definitely recommend going Solid Shield. Otherwise, if you're going to go for the standard, then definitely go for Cloaked Wrath because this will be useless and this will be slightly less useless. And extra rage is always nice. And then finally, you can either go for even more healing or you can go for a flat damage reduction. But I would definitely lean more towards the healing just because you already get so much healing and you have the skill that provides you by a 30% healing bonus. So you want to build up on that even more. So we're going to go for vitality as a primary skill talent we go for. Next up, we're going to go for the infantry secondary. We're going to go for defense, march speed, because march speed is always nice. We're going to go for even more healing increase, resulting in a net total of 8% from talents, which is always nice. You can go for assassins in waiting as well if you want to escape further, but the role of running Garwood is just to be as much of a damage sponge as possible and even use him to farm merits. And then finally, we're going to build on Cool Headed on the last talent. And then finally, we're going to drop a point here in All Conquering, resulting in this the first build. The second build we'll be going for, which is not that viable. We're going to be going for defense, attack, and HP. We're going to go for Shield of Stability. We're going to go for defense, march speed, even more healing, and then we're gonna drop only 1 point here in Assassins in Waiting just to get the bonus march speed when retreating, then Cool Headed. Now, you have three options here where you want to go. I would prefer going All Conquering just to be an even bigger damage sponge. You can go for increased healing or Generalist. I would much prefer Generalist because getting 5% of every single stat is much more valuable, than a slight healing factor, which would net 150. And then finally, we're going to go for Encouraging Dance just to get that rage restoration rolling. You can go for the surrounded bonus, but it's not that worth it because as infantry, you want to be the one that is surrounding people, not getting surrounded. And finally, we're going to go for Iron Will, just to increase the damage reduction timer by 1 second, which is huge, and it does add up. And then we're going to use the tank tree as our secondary supplement. We're going to go for overall speed, and then we're going to go for the same, but instead of going for 3 into Heaven's Blessing and then 2 into Encouraging Dance, we're going to go for 3 into Heaven's Blessing and 2 into All Conquering. And finally, we're going to go for Unyielding Spirit, thus building up the talents that we were going to use on Garwood. As for the last skill point, I will leave that one up to you. That is it when it comes to the talents of Garwood. Now you might be wondering why aren't we using the garrison tree? Again, I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. The garrison tree is extremely underwhelming and extremely bad. It definitely needs a buff and it needs some loving. Now I want to make something clear when it comes to Garwood's two talent builds. His job in the open field is just to soak damage. That is it. He has no other role, he has no other potential to do anything else except to be a damage sponge and just throw him into the middle of a ton of marches and have him heal his way through and try to survive and buy time for as much as possible for the other marches to go in and deal some actual damage. When it comes to his pairings, if you're going to run Garwood primary, I definitely recommend running Madeline secondary or Garwood Bakar or, of course, Garwood Nika. That is pretty much his pairings when it comes to him being primary. As for secondary, you can definitely run Madeline Garwood, though Madeline Nika is just so much more superior. Nika Garwood does not work. It's not worth it at all. You're pretty much suffocating Nika. And yeah, he has no other pairing when he's secondary except when it comes to Madeline. You can also use Garwood as sort of a pseudo support march for enabling someone like Indus or someone like Thea when they're awakened to make use of their AoE support skills. You can also run Garwood Pan once Pan is also awakened in order to heal even more nearby allies. But more on that when it comes to Indus and Pan's videos. So look out for those and be sure to subscribe for them when they come out. Now, where can you obtain Garwood's skill points, or rather his tokens to awaken him? You can obtain them from the Strongest Soul events. He's usually the second rotation right after Emrys. When it comes to any Strongest Soul rotation, you can get 200 of them if you do happen to win rank 1. And he usually appears 3 times in a rotation, and you do need 690 tokens in order to awaken the legendary. He's also obtainable from the gold keys, and he is obtainable from the daily deals at some point later on your daily progression, and you can of course get him from the standard VIP login. That is it when it comes to Garwood, our tree boy. I hope you like this video. If you do, drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. Do join our Discord because I plan to hold a giveaway pretty soon. So more news on that in a future video. And I will see you in the next video. Meow meow.